now call the Caribou City Council meeting to order. And it's kind of a special day today, and in remembrance, I'd like everyone to stand, please. Please join me in a moment of silence for the innocent men and women and children who lost their lives on an airplane, at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, and on the streets of New York. For civil servants, firefighters, police officers, and military personnel who have dedicated and lost their lives protecting our safety, our freedom, and our democracy. For those who gave up their lives working tirelessly in the rescue efforts. And for the thousands of family and friends who continue to grieve their losses. Thank you. Roll call tonight. Everyone is accounted for. And we'll now stand to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public input. Do we have any public input tonight? From anyone? Any conflicts of interest from anyone on the council on any of the agenda items? Consent agenda. We have minutes from the August 14th regular council meeting, minutes from the August 28th special council meeting, August 2017 financials, liquor license and special amusement permit renewal for A&W Properties doing business as the warehouse. We also have the Caribou Fire and Ambulance report and the police report.
Move the slate.
Any questions or comments on?
I have a comment.
Yes?
On the liquor license permits, and we seem to be asking these people a lot of questions that are, frankly, I don't think there's any of our business. I mean, why should they have to write down how much money they took in for food or liquor or whatever? I mean, is that any of our business?
That is a state liquor application, and they submit a copy of their state liquor application to us. The special amusement application at the very end is our only application. But you're approving their state liquor application before it goes on to the state.
And if that went on to the state without that there, what would happen?
The forms, it's the state's forms on the state's website.
Okay.
Made a motion. Did we have a second?
I just had one more question too. Is there still a parking problem down there? I've had some comments, with people they couldn't get an ambulance through or anything. Is there anything?
Yeah, we're looking into that now. We've got feelers out to the state DOT where that process is.
Okay, to see if maybe there might be some more parking or anything. Okay, yeah.
Again, did we have a second? We have a second. Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Bid opens appointments for the Nyland and Museum Board. Carol Wolfington.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. We have a discussion and possible action regarding official proclamation declaring September 2017 Child Cancer Awareness Month. I guess, is there anyone opposed to making September Child Cancer Awareness Month?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor? Councilor Terry, would you like to read the proclamation?
Whereas cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among U.S. children between infancy and age 15 and is detected in nearly 15,000 of our country's young people each year, and whereas 1 in 5 of the nation's children who are diagnosed with cancer lose their battle, and whereas between 2014 and 2016, at least 10 Aroostook County children were treated at the Lafayette Cancer Treatment Center in Brewer, Maine, and it is projected that 14 additional Maine children will be diagnosed with different types of childhood cancer this year. And whereas one of Caribou's own youth, Zachary Gagner, a brave cancer warrior, was diagnosed with Ewing's sarcoma, a rare bone cancer, in August 2013, and subsequently lost his battle on October 22, 2016, just 1 month shy of his 14th birthday. And whereas there is a need for additional understanding, education, research, and efficacious treatment for childhood cancer patients and their families, and whereas September is recognized as National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Now therefore, we, the elected officials of the City of Caribou, on behalf of Zachary Gagner and the many other childhood cancer patients and their families, proclaim September 2017 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Caribou. We encourage all residents of Caribou, Maine to join other towns in Maine by going gold during the month of September and to install yellow, gold light bulbs on their front porch to honor all children who are newly diagnosed, those who are battling, and those who have lost their fight with childhood cancer. We further lend our voices of support for research and funding efforts which may lead to more efficacious treatments of childhood cancer. Passed and approved this 11th day of September 2017.
Thank you, Councilor Terry.
Mayor and council, Zachary Gagner's mother is here tonight, I believe, and I don't know if you want to give her some time on the floor.
Yes, certainly. Is it something you'd like to say? Or?
Yes. This is a very challenging thing for me to do today. It hasn't been quite 1 year since my son passed. Given that September is nationally recognized as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, I felt it critical that this be part of the process today, and I truly appreciate from the bottom of my heart your willingness to adopt this proclamation. Zachary was a warrior, as are all children who fight childhood cancer. I had a traumatic experience. It was earth-shattering, witnessing my own child undergo harsh chemotherapy, radiation, which unfortunately was not efficacious. I am representing other Aroostook County youth. There have been 10 children in the past 2.5 years in Aroostook County alone diagnosed with childhood cancer. It is not rare. 1 out of 285 children nationwide will be diagnosed with cancer each year. Every day, a full classroom of children are diagnosed with childhood cancer. Not all childhood cancers are curable. My son, unfortunately, was not as fortunate. I promised him before he passed in our home that I will continue to fight for him as long as there is a breath in me, and I will fight and honor all other children that have to battle this horrible disease. I thank all of you for listening today.
Thank you very much. Discussion and possible action regarding abatement of property taxes for multiple properties totaling $2,507.25. And these were the properties that we sold here a few meetings back, and this is the amount of back taxes that we're owing on them.
Move to accept.
Second. All those in favor of the abatement? Passed, unanimous. Discussion of possible action regarding EMS capital vehicles and equipment needs. And there is no backup here for that. There's no other backup other than that.
Chief Susi and I were able to meet late this afternoon and go over some of the information that he was pulling together. I have a handout that we can put on the slide. We weren't able to get it into the pack of information before the council meeting. You are correct. Let's see if I can get that down.
So I guess first and foremost, the one I'd like to start with is the ambulance. A little over a month ago now, we had an accident with the ambulance and totaled a piece of equipment. Been going back and forth with the insurance company to see what they would do. Because of the insurance coverage that we did have on it, it was a liability insurance. Our total payout for that ambulance was $24,000, not counting the equipment. They came good for the expensive equipment that was in it. The stretcher, the monitor. The stretcher's been replaced. Should be showing up any time now. So the matter at hand is replacing the ambulance. This, like any other ambulance, it doesn't get picked off a lot. It takes 6 to 7 months to build one. And that's what I'm here tonight to discuss with council about the acquisition of a new ambulance so we can get it sometime, hopefully in February or March.
Well, I'll start. I mean, I can remember when we had 5 ambulances, I guess, but one was stationed at the base at Limestone. We had 4 here that we used in Caribou, basically.
Yep.
And then when that came back from the base, it was just put into the fleet here as a 5th ambulance.
It was used from the base too when something was down for maintenance or you needed it just for the 5th ambulance. It was at our disposal.
So what do we what do we require to keep here? Not talking about long-term transports and everything else. What do we require for ambulances to look after Caribou and our surrounding areas that we service?
You could do that. If you didn't want to do any long-distance transfers, you'd be looking at 3 ambulances. 3 ambulances.
So we only really use one now for, well, I guess you've got another one on hand. You never use more than 2 for long distance.
We really try not to.
Well, do we or don't we? I mean, do we need 3 or do we need 2? That's why I'm asking the question.
And
We try to is not the answer, though.
It is the answer.
Have we ever used more than 2 for long distance transport?
Yes, we have.
Okay, then that's what I'm trying to determine. So we can get by with 2 ambulances here.
I guess I don't understand your question.
Well, if we can use 3 for a long distance transport, that would mean we could get by with 2 here if we've got 5.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to understand, and this certainly isn't going to show it to me what we've got here.
No, so if you look at historical data, which coming into this I did. So from January 1st to August 31st, it would have been a $208,000 loss to the city if we didn't have the 5 ambulances. So I went back to 2016. If we didn't have 5 ambulances, it would have been a $223,000 loss to the city of Caribou. So I went back again. I went back to 2015. It would have been a $217,000 loss to the city of Caribou had we not had the 5th ambulance due to overlapping downstate calls, which has been increasing over the last 3 years more than it ever has.
What do you base your loss on? You base your
We
loss
wouldn't be
on
able to do the trip.
the revenue that we didn't get.
Absolutely.
But did you take away the cost for fuel and the tires and the people and everything else?
It still would end up being the same amount of number. It would still be the same number because you're not making it in the beginning. Again, I bring you this because an ambulance lasts the city of Caribou 10 years. That's generally what we go on. So you're looking at a $2+ million loss to the city without that purchase from not being able to do it. Now, that being said, we've had 77 days this year without a 5th ambulance because of maintenance issues. Something goes into the shop, a broken truck. There's been 77 days that we've had 4 ambulances. So if you go down to 4 and you look at maintenance days, that's down to 3 ambulances that we have in the house. So for us, that 5th ambulance, we're not in and out on emergency calls. We're in and out for 8, 10, 12 hours. I looked at this last year when it came time to buy an ambulance. I looked at it when it came time to purchase a fire truck, and we ended up going downsizing. We didn't use a rescue truck. We got an all-in-one. I did the same thing for this purchase. It's the way we do business for the revenue that we produce. So without that 5th ambulance, there will be a loss in revenue.
I understand the loss in revenue, but without the 5th ambulance, if you're going to drive the 5th ambulance, you're going to call people in to drive that ambulance and pay them time and a half to drive to Bangor and back. You're going to pay the fuel cost. All I'm saying is, if you don't have the 5th ambulance, you also don't have some of your expenses. They're not going to be there.
Absolutely.
And so you're saying we're going to, it's going to cost us $215,000, whatever. That isn't really what it's going to cost us, because you have to deduct what the costs are to operate that ambulance. And that's what I kind of like to see, like, where are we really at with this if you look at the real numbers? I mean, I can't make a decision without knowing that. I don't know about the rest of council, but I know I can.
Just like people, equipment's the same thing. It's a reduction in service. A reduction in equipment is a reduction in service.
Well, I understand that, yes.
Okay.
I understand that.
The insurance coverage, we're only getting $24,000 back for that?
We only had liability coverage on our equipment.
Why?
Why?
That was the money-saving insurance that we got 2 years ago when they did that. We don't now. Now we have full coverage on our equipment.
As of when?
As of 2 weeks ago when they did the reval, and once we found out what the insurance coverage actually was.
What would the difference be? What would the insurance have paid if we'd had?
That was a remount truck, so it would have paid $160,000.
As opposed to the 24.
Mm-hmm.
At what cost?
What's premium?
You don't need
How much more was the premium?
What's the premium?
No idea.
Scott, what about a van? The difference in the van, do they still have the van ambulances? Are they cheaper to run, maybe for a trip downstate?
Yeah, the vans, Crown's been using the vans. They're not having great luck with it because they don't plow the interstate in the winter. It's a light vehicle.
But what's the cost? Do you know what the difference in the cost would be?
They're about $100,000.
As opposed to 136. Well,
no,
as opposed to
210.
210.
Yeah.
So another option is to lease.
The other option's to lease.
That's not cost effective. $43,000 a year?
Right, and we'd be replacing other ambulances on top of it because right now we're into the remount stage. So we'd be remounting onto new chassis, so our ambulance cost will be going down anyways.
How much money do you have in reserve?
$500. Now there's $24,000 because of the insurance.
Who decided to just put liability?
That was the insurance coverage we got with MMA when they did the whole restructure of the insurances.
Nobody read the policy?
I have
did
no-
we know this?
I can't answer that.
Because I would have said so.
Yeah, it's a sizable difference.
Well, anyway, that's
done. So what's the possible credit for engine 1 and the possible credit for direct ambulance?
If we go with Autotronics again, the price of the new ambulance would be $201,000. They'd give us $10,000 for the old engine 1, as opposed to putting it out for a bid.
Oh, the one that we
So they would take that and trade plus the additional 24, and then we'd have to do the rest on capital.
What kind of ambulance is that?
Just what we have. It'd be a G4500.
Who makes that? Chevrolet?
It'd be a Chevy Braun. I looked at getting one of the Ford chassis, but we still can't fit it in our house for one of the F-Series chassis.
So like Ford Transit or those vans that they're making real nice and so on and so forth, they're not any good in the snow?
The lighter vehicles, they're fine for emergencies and in and around. It's when you have to go downstate with a critical patient. One, there's not much room in them, and two, they don't plow the interstate at night. It's not very good in a snowstorm.
But if you used a van, that would still leave you one ambulance to go downstate as well. Because the van would bring us back up to 5. So if you had a van and you had another ambulance to go downstate, I mean, how many times would you have to go downstate in a snowstorm? You know, I mean, you still have a chance to have the van or the plane perhaps, but I guess I would like to see.
We wouldn't use the van on transfers. If we got a van, it would be kept local.
Okay, then that too. But maybe that's something to look into as far as, it looked like it would be a lot cheaper. We'd almost come out with even, you know, with region.
Chief Susie, when you say $215,000 in revenue, is that what the number was roughly?
If you looked at this year, it was 208, 656.
It was 215, one was 217.
Yep.
How many trips are you talking roughly in a year to go down there?
How many are we?
To get that revenue?
That was based off in 208 is 69 to date. Extra.
69 trips.
Extra. That would be the second trip of a day. That would be days that we already had one gone and they called for another one. Those aren't the base trips.
Either Bangor or Portland, one of the two.
Bangor, Portland, Lewiston, Augusta.
How many hours to get to Bangor and Portland?
It's 8, 10, and 12
Round trip.
round trip.
Does the same person do all the driving, or do they take turns?
If they get tired, they can swap out. Night trips, if we go to Portland in the middle of the night, we try to take 3 sometimes. It depends what the call is. Right now, with summer help on the first trip of the day, there's no overtime because we're not calling anybody in. It's the second trip of the day.
Even though we're looking at 6 months out, potentially for new ambulance, correct, somewhere in that range, 3 or 4 months if we purchase a new one.
6 months.
6 months, okay. I mean,
We've got a loaner in house right now.
we got the loaner, that'll cover the operational needs until
Mm-hmm.
the decision is made, so we're operating at the same status we have been.
Right now, yeah. Right now, we're operating at 5.
What's the cost of the loaner?
No, there's no cost in hopes that we purchase.
But eventually they're gonna want it back, right?
Absolutely. If we're not going to purchase, they'll want their loaner back.
Well, what are council's feelings? I've made mine known, I guess.
I'd like to see.
I don't know if I'm against it or not, but I'd like to see a few numbers that could justify it. I mean,
If we're operating right now, another 4 weeks, whether we decide what we purchase or we use a van, or do we lease? There's like 3 options: buy, lease.
I don't think
There's
lease
a
is.
van.
I don't think lease is a good option.
That's
not
ridiculous.
a really good option. But it's an option, but maybe it's not.
It was looked into, but we're going to have to replace on top of that, so it'll be a big domino effect.
I think we ought to
Going
take
forward.
this right out of
We
it,
can
but
take that one out.
I'd like to see the difference, the actual net cost or whatever of the lost revenue versus if you didn't have that 5th ambulance, you know, whether, You know, and I also, it looks like a van would be about 45,000 difference. I'd like to look into that as well. I don't want to really make a decision tonight. I'd like to look at some figures and stuff and weigh it a little bit first until next time.
I mean, just off the top of my head, in rough numbers, you're looking at $100,000 in labor to make those trips.
Yeah, and we're making 100,000 and we're providing labor for somebody.
But you're
a
not,
win-win.
I'm not talking about fuel or repairs or all the other things that end up dealing with that kind of mileage either, so.
Yeah, but we've gone around this barn a lot of times. We make money with the ambulance service.
With the transfers, the transfers are the piece. You can run emergency runs all day long. It's the transfers.
I'd like to know what, manager, what do you think?
I've had some opportunity to speak with Chief Susi about it. We've gone over some of the numbers. The request for actual, true operation cost, we haven't done that yet. We could certainly bring that back to you. As has already been pointed out by the council, the lease option doesn't seem to be the best option to even consider moving forward. But we haven't talked about the van option, so we could certainly look at that as well. The concern, I think, that we have is with the loaner being, in a sense, free at this time, they're only going to let us have that free for so long. There needs to be a commitment, are we going to purchase or not? And so we don't want to take a lot of time. I'm not wanting to push you in making a decision tonight, but we want to have a quick turnaround in making a decision about this so that Electronics has.
We're available to be called for a meeting anytime. This council, and if someone wants to put together the numbers and then we can look at them, that's what I would prefer. But the rest of council, if they want to do something, that's.
We're going to look at the numbers and then we're going to approve it. So I make a motion that we approve it now.
We have a motion to, what are we approving? Buying a new ambulance.
Right.
Phil wants to say, yeah.
And then you're gonna buy it on time, or what are you doing?
We don't know
There's
that.
no money there.
It's definitely have to be put into the next year's budget.
Which is coming up very soon.
Right.
We're gonna be working on that like in the next,
This coming month.
like this month. That's a huge, it's not opposed to buying the ambulance, but it's just a matter of
I'd like to hear what Phil has to say.
the numbers there.
There's a motion on the table, I'll hold until it either fails or we go into discussion.
Well, after a motion, we generally go into discussion.
So somebody got to second it?
I did.
Yeah, it's been seconded.
Okay, well, I would like to see some estimates for a van. Okay, well, we talked about this the last time that you brought us a $250,000 price for an ambulance. Maybe we need to mix our fleet up a little bit and then manage it accordingly. And one of my worst fears has happened. We had an accident. Maybe we're working our people too hard. I always thought that before we added the last crew. Finally that happened, I figured that there would be something better there, but there's still a tick in overtime. So with that generates tired.
If I can maybe address that a little bit. Chief Susi and I have also been talking about the overtime and the personnel needs there. We, maybe for the retreat, will present an idea that we've had to not increase the number of, let's say, full-time paramedics, but there might be some options to add some additional staffing there, reduce the overtime, but also maintain the trips, and thus bump up that revenue some more.
We're going to do something I brought up 3-4 years ago.
I wasn't here 3 or 4 years ago. What was that?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I don't see any options, I mean, when we get the fire truck, there's options on there for the financing. Gary said, I don't see that here. Is there 0% deal like we do with the truck, or?
The problem with that, Jody, is ambulances, we go through them quicker. So the fire truck, we're not going to be buying another one. So in 5 years, we're still not buying another fire truck. The ambulance, I'm still going to have to remount ambulances, so it's going to be a domino effect. So if we lease this one right now, I'm going to come to you in 2 years for a remount for $100,000, and then in another 2 years, maybe 3, but 2 years, it'd be time to get ready for another remount. So you're going to be paying for those remounts on top of this lease up until the end of that 5 years.
May I ask a question on the vans too? Do you really think even for local emergency transport they're going to be good on the roads?
No.
I run a fleet and they're terrible on the road.
They're
So-
very terrible. The
Yeah,
reason they
it's
have
very
vans is because
concerning.
they can weave through traffic.
Yep, and
Awesome.
there's absolutely no room in it for the amount of care and the personnel that we'd be taking. And we'd never, well, I won't say never, but it would definitely not be the first choice to go south with a crew, with a nurse and paramedics in the back.
We're doing like a local transport though for emergency. I mean, on the roads in the winter, do you?
It's there's been so many complaints about ambulances in this area. In southern Maine, there's a few companies that use them, but it's in the city and they can weave in and out. Just like Timmy said, there's not much.
Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion on the floor to approve buying a new ambulance. I guess we'll have to decide where we're paying for it later. And a second, without getting any more information on what it truly makes us. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 4-3.
You can still
Thank
bring
you.
the information.
I'll get it.
Thank you.
The next piece of that would be engine 1. I'd like to either put it out for bid or use it for trade for this new purchase. And I'd follow whatever the council's wishes were on that.
Trade it.
We went out to bid for the last one. We got $8,000 for the last one, and they're offering 10 for this one.
I mean, the company that you'd be buying from?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to trade it in
Second.
on this purchase.
Motion to trade the old truck in on the ambulance, fire truck. There's a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Passed, 5-1.
So, one last, so we are back to the insurance thing, so we are covered on the rest of our,
Yes, sir.
everything else is covered.
Yes, sir. We went through it.
That's my big concern.
We went through it line by line, and we also went through item by item on every piece of equipment that we own, every cabinet, everything that sits on there, and revamped our entire fleet.
We're also doing that with the other departments, so we can make sure we're covered where we need to.
One more question, I guess it was my, so are we gonna be able to keep this loaner, until the time that we get our new one at no cost?
Yes.
Because we're gonna make the purchase?
Yes.
6 months, we're good.
Yep. Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to buy, Chief Susie?
No, no,
Everybody's in the right mood here. so-
no, I don't want anything.
No, but he's going to be, the rest of the departments are going to be upset because he just took over the capital improvement budget for the next year.
All right, next item, I guess I'm gonna turn it over to our manager, who's gonna give us a report on our expenses and our 8th-month budget report. Manager Marker, we'll let you take it from here.
Mayor and council, the charter requires that I present to you before September 15th an 8-month snapshot of where we're at in our expenses for the year. And so I think the basic summary of everything is that looking at what we've spent so far and what we anticipate spending, it looks like we're going to come in about 95% of budget. And that's, again, it's just a projection. I can't guarantee that that's where we're going to come. Don't hold anybody to it, but it looks like based on the expenditures we've had to date and having reviewed the projections with the department heads, we'll come in under budget this year. I don't know if there's much more to say other than we recognize there are some of the departments that right now they've had some expenditures. It's projected that some of the departments will exceed their budgeted amount. On the order of the biggest one would be about almost $26,000 out of economic development. But that expenditure, projected expenditure overrun, is offset by the amount of revenues that they're being brought in for the sponsorships for all the events. So there's actually an offset there toward the positive, thanks to the work of Gary and Christina in that realm. But
These are the numbers you used, right?
those are all the numbers.
You want me to just point out a few things that I just...
Sure.
So,
Sure.
when I look under Public Works at asphalt, 254,000 way back when, and now this year was $208,000 for asphalt. We spent 19 and we're projecting to spend 28, which is only 13% of the budget. My guess is we're going to spend all that 208. He is doing some paving, isn't he? I think he's starting here quickly.
Next week is what they said.
So I can't imagine that we're not going to spend that 208,000.
That value was from our Public Works Director, so
Well,
we can,
might want to talk to him.
yeah.
Because I think right there's 160,000 or something that we're going to spend that we haven't got planned on. And the other one that I looked at was was protection, that's where our hydrant rental is. And I'm looking to see whereabouts that is on these pages.
What's the number on it? 38?
Yeah. We had a budget of 322,000. Now we're projecting we're going to spend 275, which is 47,000 less. That $47,000 is the $47,000 you're going to be billed in January for December. Last year, you get your first bill in February. You're always a month behind. And I only know that because I went through this last year when I looked at our budget figures. So there's another 47,000. You are going to be at the 322 there. There's another $47,000 there. And yeah, there's a lot of them that are marked that they're going to be over that I know they're not, but there's some that are the other way too. So if I guessed, I'd say $260,000 maybe. We might still be under.
The final report's not due till September 15th, so
Yep.
we could certainly go back and review those and make the amendments to it.
Yep. All right, any other questions from council on the budget? Anybody from council have any new business? No? I have nomination papers are available right now for 3 city council seats. Term of office is 3 years for all of those. 2 RSU 39 board member seats, term of office 3 years. And 1 for Jefferson Carey Memorial Hospital Fund, term of office 3 years. Papers can be taken out at any time and are due back by September the 22nd, 5 o'clock, in order to be placed on the ballot. And the city clerk's office is going to be closed Tuesday, September the 12th, tomorrow, for the training session. So. No other business? I think we have an executive, sorry. No. You want to talk about the marathon?
Great. It's
Okay.
gonna go great. The weather's awesome. We ordered great weather, and we don't need to use the decision maker this year. But
Item number 6 was some bid openings, and I failed to let Dennis know about the Grist Mill Park project. I did get some prices back from our bid. We only had one company that entertained to put a bid in. They got it in on time on Friday. That was Haney's Building Specialties out of Caribou, with a total amount of $34,175. That includes the deck, includes all the earthwork and prepping of the asphalt ramp. And that was also to pave the ramp as well.
Do we have a projection on that cost?
That's where I was between $34,000 and $36,000, what I had anticipated. Again, was one local company that bid on it. Just want to see what the council's wishes are, if you guys want to discuss it.
Enough money in your capital budget?
I've got enough money in that line, yes.
Okay.
And there was some discussion originally about paving or not paving.
Well, we're going to hold off on probably the paving with the DOT SOAR work that's going to happen 2018, I believe. We're going to probably hold off on the ramp to pave the ramp because it looks like that new storm drain possibly will go down. It'll be on the other side of the ramp, but it would impede the ramp to get down. So I figured if we do it this year, if we can get it done, just get it done in gravel, leave it alone, and then see what happens. See what happens next season, and then finish up. I'd hate to pave it and then have them come in and tear it out.
When is this project planned to start, or when do you plan to?
If I get permission to proceed with the council, I'm going to talk to the contractor and see if we can start it this year. We got some great weather still to come. The month of September is just starting, October typically, and it's a dry area. Public Works went in last week and cleaned up a bunch of the area, took all the fencing out, cleaned it up. It looks a lot better. Looks a lot
Other
better.
council's wishes?
Move to accept the bid.
Second.
All those,
We're going to put a time frame on the completion. I'm agreeable to it, but if we put be completed this season. Just don't want it to drag on.
No, I don't want it to drag on either. Again, it's going to be up to that contractor. They're quite busy, but I can talk to him, and if you guys give me a November 15th deadline.
Time limit. Then what? There won't be time for us to rebid.
No, I'm saying time.
To finish it, I think we could. I don't think it's egregious to think that November 20th we could have it done. There's still good there's still good weather.
Contract price anyways.
So,
They have a time frame in their bid.
no, we did not. I did not put a time limit on the bid. I did not. And did they? No. Except for the paving, of course. The paving we're going to hold off till. I would hold off on the paving till next year.
well, I would say if you're going to put it in a contract, you want to have a time frame on the contract.
Yep.
That's
Or
my
it's
question.
signed.
Not
I will talk to the contractor and I'll let Manager Marker know, and then we'll send out an email to you guys so you guys are all on board.
So it's moved and seconded, I think.
Yeah, that's the only question. I
Yeah,
have,
it was
so.
moved and seconded. All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you. The other thing that I want to give a quick update on, I got a price on moving the fence at the rec center for the National Guard fence for the new park. The company out of Caribou gave me a price of $5,630 to move all that fence. National Guard's requiring, we've got to move their gate as well, push it back. There's going to be some of our cost to help out with taking out some of the old fence because they're going to rehab majority of the fence that's there. The contractor's willing to do that with us. So $5,630 I thought was a real good price to move all of that fence. He's going to have to be creative when it comes to moving the big 30-foot gate. Luckily, he installed it, so he's very familiar with it. I got a quick price. I've been trying to nail down the National Guard for some engineering plans for that fuel pad. It's a 21 by 42 pad. I don't know the specs. I know it's 6 inches, but I don't know if they're asking for 3,500 PSI or what kind of rebar they're asking. So I found a contractor today to just give me a quick air quote, highest PSI, all the rebar, everything. He came out with $5,000 to pour it and make a pad with us prepping the earthwork for it. And I think the that council had agreed not to go over 15. If we're good with that, I will go to some of those other contractors and talk to them and get it formally done. As long as it doesn't go over the 15,000, are you guys going to allow me to proceed with this fall if we can?
You already gave.
I know, but I just want to make sure I get everybody's blessing.
Update.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Mackey, I
No, it
noticed
won't.
that there's a new flagpole located
Yep.
at the rec center.
The new flagpole, we erected a 30-foot flagpole 2 weeks ago in memory of Joseph Sleeper. Mrs. Sleeper came to me back this summer, asked if we could purchase a flagpole in memory of her husband. I still got to get the plaque, but we got it up. It's going to be used for, our first official use is going to be for the marathon, for the national anthem. So the flag came out great, and she's very appreciative. Yes, sir.
Could you find two Welcome to Caribou signs and switch them with the two in front of the rec center? Because the two in front of the rec center don't look too pretty.
No, we got to
for the
get.
Marathon.
I don't know if I have any extras, Mr. Martin, but I probably can get them out down in time and have them stitched up. I can get them fixed. I got to get the bucket truck anyway, so. Any other request? Yes.
Could we send a letter to Mrs. Sleeper thanking you for that donation, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other business? No. We have an executive session tonight?
Move to adjourn? Or, no.
Move
Move to go to an executive session?
All those in favor? All right, thank you everyone for coming.
It's not so much that way. These guys don't see it. It takes me to Bangor. From the hospital. I was thinking China's this stuff.